I type one command into Claude Code and it generates an entire Instagram carousel for me in minutes. It does research, it finds images, it pulls together the carousel, and then it uses Python scripts to format these tweets into carousel slides, complete with the verification badges, your headshot, and all of your usernames. I built these all as Claude Code skills, so if you just want to follow along and build the exact same skills I did, you can absolutely do so. But I also have them available inside my AI Innovators community. If you want to just copy and paste all of these skills for yourself, that's going to be the easiest way to do so. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, and let's get into how this works. This is the complete architecture and flow diagram for the thread carousel skill. So everything starts when we want to create a thread. We're going to go into Claude Code, we're going to type /thread to carousel, and then we have a few different ways that we can give input to the AI. We can either paste in the text of one of our Twitter threads directly, we can ask AI to write the thread for us, or we can just share some screenshots or some images of tweets and it will generate the carousel for us. When we do that, it's going to use voice and tone information that's contained directly inside of the Claude MD file. Just as a quick note here, we do have a consistent thread structure. So every thread is going to start with a hook, then body tweets, and then it's going to finish with a CTA. Once Claude knows what we want to write about, it needs to get some extra information about us. So what it's going to do is it's going to go to its Claude MD file and it's going to pull our display name, our handle, if we're verified or not, and it's also going to pull the path for our headshot. So we include headshots in the skill so that it can use them in the little avatar preview. So that is what is going on there. Next, it's going to break it into slides. So for each tweet, it's going to check, is it the first tweet or not? If it is, we need to make sure that it has a hook image. So if there's no image, Claude is going to do a web search using Tavily. It's going to find an image and it's going to include that in the first slide. If we are not working with the first tweet, we want to check if it has more than 200 characters or if it has an image. If so, it's going to get its own slide. If not, and there are two slides consecutively that have less than 150 characters with no images, then we're going to combine both of those tweets onto one slide with a gray divider in between. If not, it's just going to get its own slide. It's just going to be one tweet centered on the page. So I made an example breakdown here. You can see a typical thread carousel might look like this. The first slide is going to be one tweet. It's a hook on its own and it's going to have an image with it. The second slide is going to be the second tweet and the third tweet combined. The third slide is going to have the fourth tweet with an image. The fourth slide will have tweets 5 and 6. And then the fifth slide will have tweet 7 with an image and a CTA. Now, our bot is always going to present these ideas to us, but for the sake of time, it's going to generate them no matter what. And moving on to step 4 is where we actually handle the images. So these different image pipelines are ordered in level of importance. User-provided images are going to be the most important, so anytime I provide an image, I always want those images to be used. Next most important would be Tavily search images, so just searching on the web, finding images. If we can't find any good suitable screenshots for websites, we can go and take those ourselves using a Python script. And if we need an image of something else, if we need an illustration, if we need a diagram, we can use Nano Banana to generate those. When we're talking about a product, we do typically like to use the live screenshot tool over Tavily, and that's just because a lot of the Google images are going to be outdated of tools, so it's best to take an updated screenshot of their website. But moving on, we actually generate the threads. So the config file is a config.json file that houses all of the information Claude needs to write and pull together your carousel. So you can see an example here. It has all of our profile information. It has theme information if we're generating a light carousel or a dark carousel. And it has all of the slides information in here with all of the text and the images that would be included in each slide. Now, this is an example of our workspace structure. So this is the specific format that Claude generates all of these carousels in, just to keep things consistent from carousel to carousel. So inside the workspace folder, which is where I like to have Claude do all of its work and generations, we have a carousels folder. We have the name of the carousel, and then within that folder is all of the information for that specific carousel. So we have a config.json, which is the file we just talked about. We have reference, which is all of the images we've pulled, the logos, any images that I've personally provided, etc. And then we have each of these slides. Now, you'll notice that slide 3 is an MP4, whereas the first two are PNGs. That's because if we include a video or a GIF in one of these slides, we're going to save it as an MP4 so that we can save on those file sizes as well as keep the colors consistent. GIF compresses the color format, so if we use a GIF on one slide and a PNG on others, the colors are going to be different from slide to slide. And once we have the entire config created, then we can go ahead and run the script. So Claude is going to run the script. It's going to generate our carousel for us. It's going to go through each of these steps. So we're going to parse the config.json. We're going to apply the theme, whether it's light or dark. We're going to load all of our fonts. And then for each slide in the config file, we're going to use the measure tweet function in combination with the image height to determine how big each tweet is going to be on a slide. And then we're going to vertically center those on a 1350 pixel canvas, which is the tallest Instagram allows. Then we're going to draw on our profile pic and our circular mask. We're going to add our name and our badge and our handle row. And then we're going to wrap that text with word wrap and new line breaks. Lastly, we need to actually write the text onto the page. We're using a package called Pillmoji to render the actual emojis. And we always use Apple emojis. And then we embed images. We round those corners to 20 pixels. And if a slide has 2 tweets, then we draw that gray divider on. If an image in a slide is an animated GIF, like I mentioned before, we're going to use the GIF pipeline. If not, we'll just save it as a PNG. So the GIF pipeline is going to render a static base the same way that we render all of the other carousel slides. And then we're going to extract each of the GIF frames, composite those onto the base, calculate the frames per second from the durations of those GIFs, loop it to 3 seconds because Instagram's minimum for videos is 3 seconds, and then pipe that into an MP4 format and save it with the rest of the carousel. So when we're all said and done, you get carousels that look like this in just a few minutes, and you can go back and forth and make any changes you need. And now that you guys have an idea of the inner workings, how this whole system works, I want to bring up VS Code and actually run through some examples. You guys can see it working live, as well as how the back and forth works and making changes and edits. So I know that Gemini 3.1 just came out, and honestly, it's a pretty insane AI model. So I'm just going to write /Instagram thread carousel, and then I'm going to say Gemini 3.1 release. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go off, it's going to do a bunch of research on this specific topic. It's going to ask me a bunch of questions, and then it's going to find the information, figure out what images it needs. It might create a screen recording, and then it's going to stitch it all together into a carousel. I'll let you guys know when this is done and we can review it together. All right, so it's finished things up, but let me scroll up here. Before we take a look at the actual images, I just want to show you guys what this thing went through. So first it checked and made sure we had our headshots uploaded and all of our API keys in our .env file. And then it started researching. So we did a web search for Gemini 3.1 release. We did a bash command to see which API keys were set. Because both API keys were configured, he started searching for images while writing the thread. So created the Workspace folder. Because it found that information up here, it decided to look into it further, decided to find some images for Gemini 3.1, and then wrote the thread based on the information from the Gemini 3.1 launch research. So this is the thread that it decided to write. Now this is still all happening automatically. I haven't had to send any follow-up messages or anything like that. It continues. It's going to check the image search results. It's going to actually go through each of the different search results, look at the images, and then decide which is going to be the best for the hook. So it's decided on image 1 in this case. It's written the config.json and generated the carousel slides, generated them, and then it ran into a problem. It said one issue, slides 4 and 5 have the arrow rendering as garbled text. This is a font encoding issue on Windows. Now, because I built this system on my Mac, I didn't know that this problem was going to happen. But because Claude has figure it the fuck out ability, it was actually able to go figure out exactly what it needed to do, fix the config.json, regenerate the slides, and then updates its own skill so that it remembers to not use arrows on Windows in the future. So it's generated the carousel. Let's take a look at it. In order to do that, we will head over to the Workspace folder. We'll open up today's date. We'll find the Gemini 3.1 release. You can see the file structure I spoke about earlier, and then we can flip through these slides. So Google just doubled their AI's reasoning ability overnight. Gemini 3.1 Pro dropped on February 19th. Here's everything that changed. ArcAGI, so then it's going to explain this. It's going to double up 2 different tweets on slide 3. Slide 4 is going to be a solo image. Slide 5 also doesn't have an image, and slide 6 doesn't have an image as well. So in this case, I want at least 3 more images. We have 6 slides here, so maybe 4 images for the carousel would be good. I'm going to tell it add 3 more images, and I'll be back when it's done. All right, so it's wrapping up here. It looks like it did a combination of searching for new images as well as searching for existing images that it had already scraped but wasn't actively using in the carousel. You can see all 3 new images are in. We can already see the preview of slide 6. Let's just flip through this quickly and make sure that things are looking good. Very interesting. Now, it looks like the image on slide 2 doesn't actually include an ArcAGI screenshot that has Gemini 3.1 Pro on it. So I'm going to actually go on Google, find an image, provide it to Claude, and have it use that image instead. All right, so I found this image. I'm just going to save it to my desktop and paste this into the reference folder. And we're just going to copy this path, say, please use this image on slide 2. So now this image will be swapped and this carousel should be good to go. And it's been updated. So we can see Gemini 3.1 Pro here sitting right around 77.1%. So that's pretty much it. This carousel's ready to go. We can flip through it. It looks pretty good. I'm really happy with this carousel. So if I was using my content manager skill, I would be able to actually schedule this content directly from Claude Code. If you want that skill, if you want this carousel skill, I'm releasing everything that I'm building, all of the cool shit, things like this every single day inside of AI Innovators. We have tons of content here. I want to help you guys learn, so please reach out with any questions you have. If you got any value out of this video at all, please subscribe, hit the like button. It helps me a lot, helps me to keep making these videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.